Okay, actually, let me start with like the actual animated show. I watched that with my family. We did it like as it was coming out on like the TV channel, like Nickelodeon was airing it. And it was set, like I was so excited when they brought it to theaters. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is gonna be so cool seeing a live action like Aang, Katara. And man, I hated it so much because like one, like the powers looked stupid. Like they're doing like a bunch of workouts just to move like a pebble when it wasn't like that at all. Even with the story, it was like super like inaccurate. I do think one thing that they did really well was like the costumes. I actually thought that looked very natural. I feel like it did kind of incorporate like what they thought like it would look culturally. So I thought that was kind of like an interesting take, but it looked really well done. Like, but overall, I hated the movie.
Yeah. Welcome back to the We Time Convo podcast, where we slow down, sit down, and talk it out. I'm Debbie, and today we're diving into something that's got everyone talking: live action remakes of our favorite animated films.
Some of these movies had us running to the theaters, and some movies has us running away from the theaters.
Seriously, like who said we needed to throw away the original?
We're breaking this convo into two parts because, let's be real, there's a lot to unpack. Hi everyone, this is Debbie, and I have two special guests with me today. They are
Vanessa
and Aiyanna.
And they're special because Vanessa is my daughter and Aiyanna is one of my favorite nieces. So today we are going to talk about something that is truly meaningful. We're talking about live action versus animated movies. So I'm bringing my two experts. They love, like, how much do you guys love animation and live action? Is it a love-hate relationship?
Live action remakes aren't my favorite, but I do love both in the sense of like movies and television.
I would say for me, like I'm very interested in animated movies just because like I like art myself and I think it does take a lot of work. I enjoy animated movies more than live action movies, like than the remakes, because I just don't think they do them justice.
Got it. And I think that's probably a sentiment for most people. Now, the reason why I bring Vanessa, and I thought Vanessa and Aiyanna was such a great guest for this, is I've seen both obviously growing up, and they absolutely love animated movies. And so because of their love for animated movies, I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity for them to express how animation and live action and comparative those two things are. So just from your background, what is your first animated movie that you guys remember?
I can't even name one. I feel like I grew up with a lot of just Disney movies. My parents were a big fan of it, so I don't even know when that started. But when it came to Disney, I also went to like DreamWorks, and then I came to like just in animation in general, like just seeing it on like Disney Channel, like Cartoon Network, and then having the movies released on there too.
Got it.
I think for me, yeah, I couldn't tell you like the first animated movie I've ever watched, but I can say that like growing up, I don't recall going to the movies for like the first showing of the movie ever. Like I think my earliest memories are based on movies that Aiyanna actually showed me, and we would be at her house and she would have the DVD to all these like movies that came out before I was like born, and she would play those, and those are the ones I remember the most as being my first, because I don't remember going to the movies, and like it's not like Cinderella was like in theaters.
Yeah.
So
now see, that's how like for me too, like I remember going to the movies, but I wouldn't like, they don't resonate with me as much as like watching it from home from DVD or like putting it from like the VHS or something like that. Like I remember like the tapes.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was used to. And then I went to DVDs, and then like that's when there was still, what is it, like Blockbuster, right?
Yeah.
And then like even like when it came to like Redbox and all that stuff, like I was so familiar with just like DVDs.
Got it. Yeah, no. So the big question here when we think about live action and animation, are they magical re-imaging or unnecessary cash grabs? And based on some of your initial feedback, it feels like a cash grab.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
It definitely is. I mean, why change something that's already done so well? I feel like a lot of the remakes are movies that didn't fail as an animation. They were really popular. So to me, it's just somewhat of a waste to make a live action remake, because you could have just made a new movie that was just as good.
I agree with that, like, completely. I do feel like, and I know a lot of, like, when we think of like live action remakes, it tends to be Disney, because they've been doing that a lot for whatever reason, why they think they need to do that.
Cash grab.
No, yeah. No, yeah. But like, it does like also make it like that. It shows me that they're losing their creativity. Like that they are unable to make a new story, and they're just going back to their old winners, you know, like they're still like they missed the glory days or something. And then again, like the live action, just they don't do the other movies justice. They either change the stories like completely. There's a lot of controversy, which is not gonna make it have money. I do feel like some of these movies that they made, they could have just had a different like character or something. I don't know. They needed a new story instead of going back to these old ones.
Yeah. So just to give you guys a little history on live action remakes. So one, for example, is 101 Dalmatian, which was a live action back in 1996, as well as Cinderella in 2015. So Disney remakes did a huge wave, including The Lion King, Aladdin, Mulan. Can you guys think of anything else that Disney did?
I know they did The Jungle Book. They did The Little Mermaid.
So I actually watched The Little Mermaid because if I remember correctly, you guys were bugging to watch it. The animation is just, I don't know. It's just one of those things where, you know, there's a sentiment to that, like when you watch it. And so I didn't really feel like live action was going to encompass that or bring that back. So I was very hesitant, and we watched The Little Mermaid, and I was right. It was not what I was like, so disappointed. And it's not because of, I guess, the acting or the actors. It's just a disappointment in the fact that I think you guys are right. It's like you want something new, right? And it's kind of hard to touch on something that you've already like built a memory on and really enjoyed, and then trying to recreate that is really difficult. Yeah. I remembered The Little Mermaid, and it was not.
When that came out, I remember too that everybody's like main topic was how like the actress that was gonna play Ariel didn't look like the animated version of Ariel. And I feel like for me and Aiyanna, that wasn't our issue about the movie, because it didn't matter. Like it was like she's a mermaid. It wouldn't matter what she really like who she was to play a mermaid. But like when I was watching it, I was like, that's not the thing that's bothering me. It's like the adding like new music to the soundtrack, like that. Like then now we don't know any of these songs. It sounds totally different, and it was also harder because there's animals talking in the ocean. How can you make that look normal in live action? You can't. Like it just normally doesn't work out. So it just, to me, it's just like you're looking at it and it's just like that doesn't look right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That like with the CGI that was like in the movie, it was horrible. Like, and then like what I think too, like when I watch this stuff, I was like, you know, like there's people sitting at a table and they have to approve this, and all the people sitting there were like, oh yeah, this is the one, like this is the movie. I think like for some of the parts in like The Little Mermaid, like they did have like additional scenes, which I thought were cute because it did add more depth for their character, for Prince Eric and Ariel's character, and like how like their relationship grew. But those were like probably the only things I liked because they were just a little bit new and they worked. But like, yeah, like some of the additional songs, like I think the Scuttle song or the rap or whatever, Aquafina, who's been in like a bunch of movies voice acting, like that was something. I didn't really like it, but they had to add that in. I think also with money Disney has, like they could do better. And knowing that they're like iconic animated movies that everyone loves, like everyone's gonna
be very strict with their feelings about it.
Yeah, it's going to be really critical. Everybody's going to look at it with a really critical eye. Now, the other studios that did this, I don't know if you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys know and watched it, is Avatar: The Last Airbender, the remake by Netflix.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch that? And what was your take?
I watched it. I wouldn't say it was like my favorite. I don't think they actually did like entirely horrible. Like I think how they did like the fight scenes and like how they actually displayed like the abilities, I actually think it looked really well. But as for like some of the costuming and stuff, it reminded me of like really cheap like Spirit Halloween costumes. Like I think they could have done better. Like they had like really like obvious wigs and stuff. Like I know they were trying, I could tell they were trying to make it look very accurate to the show itself.
Yes.
But also in that sense too, it's like you're doing it based off like a drawing and you're trying to have real people look like that. So it's not going to fit right.
Yes.
So like, that's kind of like my opinion. I think it wasn't like the worst though. It just could have been better.
How about you, Vanessa?
I hate the movie.
I remember her hating the movie.
So it's so weird because I don't see the series. I watched the movie and I actually liked it. But the reason why I liked it was I probably didn't watch the anime. Like I knew the animation, but I didn't watch the animation. So I watched the movie and I actually liked the movie. But it's interesting. But that's because I actually didn't watch the animation.
Yeah, well, I remember I showed you the animation. I was very, I forgot that we like did all that. We watched Legend of Korra too. For the movie, so actually let me start with like the actual animated show. I watched that with my family. We did it like as it was coming out on like the TV channel, like Nickelodeon was airing it. And it was set, like I was so excited when they brought it to theaters. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is gonna be so cool seeing a live action like Aang, Katara. And man, I hated it so much because like one, like the powers looked stupid. Like they're doing like a bunch of workouts just to move like a pebble when it wasn't like that at all. And then again, like going back to what Vanessa was saying, like even with the story, it was like super like inaccurate. I do think one thing that they did really well was like the costumes. I actually thought that looked very natural. Like it wasn't just like the show, but they had its own style in a sense. Like I feel like it did kind of incorporate like what they thought like it would look culturally. So I thought that was kind of like an interesting take, but it looked really well done. Like I think even with in the movie his name's Ong, not Aang. So Ong's tattoo. Like I actually thought that design was actually a really cool design. But overall I hated the movie.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I feel like it had such great potential. His tattoo wasn't just this blue arrow that was like painted on him.
Yeah.
It looked realistic and it was all like it, like they tried to be like culturally like somewhat appropriate, and then the fact that they all kind of did look like a live version of the animated characters was great. And honestly, I didn't like the powers because then you can tell like it's like, why are you doing all these things for you to do nothing? But like the way it looked in itself, like it had potential. Like it looked real. Like it looked like the rocks were moving and there was air and there was water that was like floating. Like it was somewhat realistic. It just wasn't realistic in the sense of how they did it. Does that make sense? It just like,
yeah. I will also say like why animation works is like when it comes to like powers, it's so easy to make them look cool because you're just drawing it out. You could erase it. You could easily fix it. When it comes to live action and people are acting, like the movements are going to look funny, like regardless on how like they do it. So I feel like that's why like for Avatar, like I'll say specifically, I do think animation works because of the speed, the pace of like the art style itself. It looks very natural. Even the setting itself, they're creating it as like a whole thing, so everything fits together and they could perfect it.
Based on all this, why do you think they exist? This whole animation versus live action?
Because they want money. They think it's gonna work, but it never does for the most part. I think some successes that have been like, I really did enjoy the Disney Cinderella remake. I do think how I think you could also tell when they're being genuine about their work, and I feel like I felt it there, as it was kind of like their, like I would want to say like the first start of like that big wave that Disney had, because it was very successful with, again, like they had more depth with the characters. They had like for romance, like in the original animated Cinderella movie, like they just see each other and they fall in love, but in the live action they just keep meeting again. So it does feel like a more natural love story compared to like how it was before, where it's a little bit cliche, but it was still very enjoyable. So I also feel like sometimes like once they get that one success, or if a different company has a success, they're like, oh, we all gotta do it, it's the new trend. But this was like the worst trend that like ever happened.
Yeah, I think what's happening here is that whoever is behind the scenes and whoever is the new, because it has to be like new people are getting hired all the time to make, like, to approve certain movies that are, especially with like Disney. And this is what I'm thinking specifically with Disney, and that like there's new animators or new like writers, directors, whatever, right? And I think that whoever they've been hiring has lost like any sort of imagination. They do not compare to all of like the old Disney movies and shows. And so the problem is that they're seeing that their new stuff isn't working, because think about it, Yanni, like, would you say that you watch a lot of the new shows or movies that Disney comes out with that look like it's just the new ones?
Yeah, no.
Well, yeah, you know, and that's really interesting, right? Because these are timeless. The movies that we're talking about are timeless. Like I remember them. You guys remember them. They're very timeless movies. And honestly, I don't see any in recent years that I like embrace, right? Yeah. Like I'll watch it, but it's not like that. It's not in that cool category where it's nostalgic, right? It doesn't give you that feeling anymore. Yeah. And I think you guys hit up on a really good thing, is that are we losing that creativity and imagination to build something for the new generation to say like, here's a movie that you're creating now that's completely new, that like when I think about Toy Story, right? Like, because it's interesting. These animations span not just children, but even adults. Right? I don't think that there's any like current animation movie that is currently being created or has been created that I actually really care to see. So when I see a live action, maybe it's my way of trying to get back to that nostalgia, right?
I will.
Go ahead.
I will say I actually disagree though with the new animation movies, because I really enjoyed like the Wild Robot and like the recent Puss in Boots. I think also, I know Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, they like started a new form of animation, which is, I want to say it's like 2.5D or something like that. It's where they use a 3D model and they draw over it to give it kind of like that comic look. So I feel like DreamWorks as of right now are definitely showing out and saying like, we're going to be better than like Disney was like the golden like boy in the sense of when it came to animation movies. But I do think DreamWorks are starting to put in more effort, because I think even with Wish, they try to copy their style, and Disney's Wish movie, that one failed. Like it couldn't compare to, again, like Wild Robot, Puss in Boots. Like a lot of people were excited. It's a great movie. If you guys haven't watched it, I probably cried over like 10 times with the Wild Robot, and I watched it twice, like, and I was still crying.
It's interesting because like I might need to check it out, but I guess for me at my, you know, I'm older, and so I don't have a desire anymore to watch animation movies. So I think just hearing you guys saying, hey, there are some good ones. And maybe it's because I got soured on trying to see some and then just, you know, it fizzled for me. But like you said, there are some good ones that I should check out. So you recommend which one?
The Wild Robot and the Puss in Boots.
Robot and Puss in Boots.
Yeah, they're pretty... I would say like they're pretty recent. I know The Wild Robot is based off a book, and I think they're already doing a second movie because the book, there's like 3 different books. Like at my job, the kids, they talk about it all the time, and they have like all 3 books, so they tell me to read it too, but I don't want to spoil myself from the movie. But I think like the art, like you could just tell when it comes to artwork, in my opinion, you could tell when it's genuine. You could tell when they're putting like their heart into it, that they care about what the audience thinks, compared to like they just put something together, slapped it together, put some tape and called it a day.
It's just, it has to be a cash grab, or just even a grab for the loyal like animation lovers to watch it again, to have a live action, because they're just like, we can tell you're not interested in anything, or in a few of the things that are coming out that are new stories. So they're like, okay, then we'll just do something we know you like, but then they ruin it.
And Convo was a big hit. I mean, I personally I don't think a lot of people like Wish, but like I think kind of like recent movies was like Luca, Soul. Like I do feel like they were new stories, and they were great hits. I think a lot of people didn't like the art style, like when they have like the bean looking mouth, but I feel like they were hits, and then for some reason they kind of like stopped. Maybe it wasn't like the most like that, those movies didn't make the most money, or like Turning Red. Like I feel like that one went really well too. Like people still talk about it, or like they still show the kids that, definitely like with the Disney Plus app and whatever. But I feel like they were doing well. Like the movies weren't bad, but then they stuck to live action, and it's like, those are bad, and you keep doing it.
Yeah, I think they also put more work into promoting these live action remakes, because they're like, because for example, like How to Train Your Dragon that came out recently, they did a lot to promote the movie and made a lot of merchandise for the movie, and that was sold everywhere. And not only that, they put it into Universal. Yeah. So it had its own like spot in Universal. And I think that when you look at that, you notice that they didn't do all of that when the animation movie came out, and now they're making a live action and they're putting more money into promoting it. But with a lot of the new animation movies that Yanni was talking about that worked out really well, they didn't promote it as big of a way. And maybe that's because, maybe we don't see it because not as many people loved it that much and it wasn't as popular. But I do think that if they put more money into promoting it, then it would have been a hit for a lot longer than it was.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that, because I feel like there's some movies like, oh, that came out, like I didn't even know, like, and I'm like, I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram, and it's not even popping up as those ads like that you think you'd see all the time. Yeah, I do feel like I keep feel like I'm circling back to Disney, but that's like probably like my easiest like example. I do think a lot of people are very loyal to Disney, where they won't say like anything's bad about it. And I think that's what like that company is like, okay, like we don't have to promote stuff. But I know like when I think Raya and the Last Dragon, I think that's like the name, like I don't think that had any promotion. Like I rarely remember.
And it was a really good movie.
Yeah, and I was like gonna say, and I enjoyed that movie too. Like it was a whole different story. They had a bunch of like different cultures showing. Like that was really cool. It was very original, which was really cool. But I was like, I don't remember that being promoted. I know this is not necessarily a movie or live action, but Marvel used to be such a big thing, and they came out with a show, Ironheart, and everyone's kept like, someone came up to me the other day saying like, did you watch this? And I was like, and I'm a big Marvel fan, but I was like, no, because Disney hasn't been promoting anything. I didn't even know it's been out like 2 months ago or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I like Marvel too. And actually, I that's one where I really appreciate it being live action, just because to me, it having those characters and seeing those actors. So like when I think about animation versus live action, what's lost or gained? And I know you touched up on it in regards to how you guys have done the comparison, but let's go ahead and dive deeper into that. When we think about animation and a real actor, do you feel that the emotional range is lost or magnified when you have an animated actor versus a live actor?
It depends on how they directed and how the actor is acting it out.
Do you think, like, for example, the most recent one that you guys saw was The Last Dragon?
Yeah, How to Train Your Dragon.
How to Train Your Dragon. There you go. Sorry. Do you feel that actor did they display that emotional range that you would expect in that? Because I remember the animation, right?
Yeah.
And so I haven't seen it, but do you think that they did a really good job?
I think for How to Train Your Dragon specifically, I would say like that is what like a live action remake movie is supposed to look like. I think they did a phenomenal job. I just don't think it's even better though still compared to the animated version. I think they did everything they could. Everything was accurate, even with a few added lines. Like it was still following the story, following the plot. Like they were very strict. And I think because I know like for Stoic, like the Hiccup's dad, like that was the same voice actor for like the movie. Like they definitely were keeping it very similar, and almost like I would probably say like they were going like line for line too. But I do think like me, like when I was watching that, I was like, I could still just watch the animated version and I would just think it's better. I think they did everything they could do though, but for me that was kind of like my confirmation where I'm just like, the animated version is better than live action because this is the best one and it still doesn't compare. Yeah.
How about you? Well,
For How to Train a Dragon, it was really good. Like it did have that emotional effect on me. Like, and that was only like the first movie that they have of they were remaking the first movie of How to Train a Dragon, and that's not the most emotional one. So that to me is how I knew that it was a good remake, because it still made me feel just as like giddy as watching the animated version. However, I wouldn't want them to continue with the series of all the How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon's been around for a long time, and they have multiple movies, and they also have like small little like short films for the holidays. And I just wouldn't want them to put more money into making that all into live action, because there's no point. Like the animated version, like Yanni said, is better, and there's gonna be like 5 more movies of it, and it was the same story, because if you change the story then it's not as interesting anymore. So it's just, to me, it was a good remake, but did they have to remake that movie? No, because it ends on basically not a cliffhanger, but it ends knowing it continues.
It's gonna continue. Yeah. So like, for example, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say also like with like watching it too, like because it's a remake, it's like I'm not gonna feel also like oh, plot twist. Like I already watched it. Like I already see, like I know what's going to happen. And even if they were to make, I think they did get greenlighted for like the second movie though, for live action. But I was gonna even say like with the second movie, I'm like, I did already watch. Like it feels like I'm watching the same exact movie, and definitely with How to Train Your Dragon, because they did really well on like keeping it accurate. But it's like I'm already watching the exact same movie I already watched, and it's just like a worse version. Like, like I could just go back to, like I keep telling myself, like, when I was watching, I was like, I could just watch the animated version like right now, and I would feel better about it.
Yeah, because like even the way that they made Toothless like act, and like the things that he did was exactly the same. So
and so but that's what I'm saying. It's like
it's good.
Yes,
but it's not interesting. It's not interesting. So it's
is it not interesting because you already know the character, and so therefore it wasn't interesting to you?
Yeah, it's like it's like when it's like music. You hear, even if it's not the original, if you hear a cover of a song that's the first time you heard the song, heard the lyrics, you're gonna think that's better than the original. Like I feel like a lot of the times that's what it is. You think that the person that like was covering the song sounds a little bit better than the original because you saw it first, you heard it first.
So there is because you know it's very difficult to really get excited, I guess, for this new live action version. Yeah, because I remember the movie and I was like, oh, I fell in love with Toothless.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's what you're saying is the live action, you could see Toothless, they were doing the same thing, but it wasn't like, there was that, not necessarily that connection that you got when you saw the animation for the first time.
Oh, I would even say like with that too, it's like, if anything, I could just imagine what I would think like Toothless would look like in real life. Like they didn't even do the work for me. Like it's, it's okay. Like, I could imagine, like I could just think of like, oh, it's a dragon.
I think something that I just thought of is that as a kid with all these originals, or even like as a kid especially, because obviously as an adult it wouldn't feel this way, but you think it's real. You're gonna pretend it's real. You know what I mean? Like when I watch Bolt, I'm thinking that this dog is the fastest dog around, that this dog has inner thoughts and is communicating with a hamster and a cat. And it does all these things, and this is his thought process. Like you're thinking it's real just because you want to. If that's the point, you're supposed to have that feeling of like these unreal things are real. Yeah. So when you do it and make it a real thing, it takes away the sense of magic that the animators are trying to do.
Following up like your statement in the sense, it's like, I think with animation, you're so much more immersed in the setting, because thinking of How to Train Your Dragon, I just remember the scene, Stoic, he like just like punches a dragon and the dragon knocks out, like in the animated version, like I would believe it. But then just seeing like a regular man punch like a huge dragon and knocking the dragon down, like I'm like it looks, because like it's supposed to be like real world in a sense, like it's supposed to be based off like actual like regular people, but seeing it in the live action, I'm like, yeah, like you would have been dead. Like that wouldn't have happened. But for some reason, when it came to like watching the original version, it worked for me. Yes. Like, see, like, and how they drew him too. He's a big guy.
He's
like,
the biggest guy on the island.
He's like built like a block. Like,
so like, like it's like his head is super small, his body's super big, and he's bigger than every person in the village.
No, yes, I was gonna say like that makes it believable, but then it's like you see like a regular dude, like no, like that doesn't look right.
Got it. Well, so the other thing when we think about the live action versus animation, you guys touch up on this because of Little Mermaid. So the music and the tone changes in remakes, right? So for example, the Little Mermaid that you guys mentioned, how about Mulan?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so
Aiyanna has an opinion.
Yeah, I do.
I have an opinion.
So for the movie Mulan, when I watched it once. That's all I needed. So for the movie Mulan, honestly, I actually don't even think it was a bad movie. Like I think if they just didn't call it Mulan, like the fact that they were like, you're gonna think it's recreating the story of the Disney character Mulan that we love and know. It was completely an entire different story. Like, one, there was no Mushu. I don't think there was a cricket. I remember in the beginning, she's chasing like a chicken. Like, it was like a bunch of different, like, it was just like a completely different movie. I do feel like, man, if you just gave it like a different name and you didn't even put Mulan, people probably would have enjoyed it. But of course, they're going to compare it, and you just threw that whole script that you already had away. So I didn't for them to call it a live action remake when it was an entirely different. I think she had like, they said she had like powers or something. When I remember, like she had like a witchcraft thing going on. Like it was like something, and I'm like, I don't remember that when she was saving China. Like she didn't use her powers. So for me, it's like if they actually probably gave it a different title or like changed the characters' names, it would have probably been enjoyable, because like, hey, Disney did a new story. Yes. But it's the fact that they called it Mulan. It's you're like, and you're trying to say compare. Yeah. I was like, of course everyone's gonna compare, and they're gonna hate it. Like that's just, that's what's gonna happen.
So based on that, you weren't a fan.
I think I feel like because they called it Mulan, I keep thinking of like the animated version. I'm like, that's better. I don't know what is, if you probably gave it a different name, because it was such a different story. Like I would have been like, oh, okay, like it's not as bad, but yeah.
You saying Mulan's cussing?
Like I don't know, like Ulan or something. Like I would have like probably would have liked it. Like it would. I don't think like because the costume was really well. I think the acting was well. I think the fight. Honestly, like I feel like everything was well. It's just like
they put a brand on it.
Yes, and like everyone's going to compare.
Yes,
and again, it's like going back to what I was saying. Like everyone's at the table. They're like, yeah, this is the movie.
How about you? You said you had an opinion.
Okay, well, I don't remember the movie. Okay, that's so sad though. I don't even remember watching the live action remake of Mulan. I know it existed. I remember seeing like parts of it, but I don't remember watching it and just being really into it. And that's like the sad part. And something that I was thinking of is just how you can make, like when Yanni is saying you can make it like a different name, I was thinking there's a bunch of a Cinderella story, and it's not necessarily exactly like princess and like ball gowns. It's just like the concept of Cinderella, how she's not as pretty as her sisters, are popular and they're mean to her.
Pretty.
Well, you know what I mean?
She's pretty.
Well, she's pretty. They're just they're mean to her, and she does it, and then she ends up getting the guy. So if they do that,
they can take the same storyline
but make it newer. So then it's more interesting. She literally was in high school in the Cinderella story, and it's obviously Cinderella was like she had
it was a remake.
Yeah,
she left the sneaker.
Like it was just like. And like even for something that I thought of, I don't know if you guys know this, but they did like there was like something on the internet about a Winnie the Pooh horror movie.
Oh, I remember seeing that.
And what? I don't know if it was real, right? But they didn't come out with it, or did they?
I never watched it. But
I saw so many things about it, and to me, that's not terrible. That's it's how he was like turned into this like more like a gory demon like thing. So to me, that's like, it's new, it's different. Obviously you'd want to watch it, and the story's different. Yeah, it's based on something that was animated and about, but it's a completely different story, just using the same headline that grabs your attention.
So there's a show HBO called The Last of Us. It was originally I want to say it was a PlayStation game. So actually they came out with a second season, but there's 2 games called Last of Us and then Last of Us Part 2. But then they made it a show with Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, I think. So like they made a remake of it. The first season was really great if you haven't watched it. The second season, I think because I played the game.
So it's an actual game.
It's an actual game.
The Last of Us, like it's a video game.
So yeah, it's a video game. So
it starts off as a video game. The original is
the original is a video game. It's a really great game.
I'm confused.
So it's a video game, but like, so the video game, it has a story.
Okay.
So you are following these 2 characters through a journey. It's like kind of like a zombie apocalyptic like story, or it's post-apocalypse, I guess. So you're following these characters to a journey. I don't want to spoil much since you haven't seen it, but let's say like they're just going to like a safe place. So you're following their journey, like in the game, you're fighting like zombies and stuff. It's pretty, like, for me, I get scared. I scream and I'll pause it and I'll like take a breather. But it is the story itself, because they have a thing called like cutscene. So it's when you stop playing and they are showing more of the story, showing more development with the characters. Even like as you're playing the game, there's buttons where you share dialogue with other characters and you build relationships that way. I will say, like, so now they made it a show, which a lot of people were excited with. One, it also being like Pedro Pascal. I know he's been like a trending actor right now, with him also in Fantastic Four: New Steps. I also seen that one. That one was really good. And then I think he even just came out with another movie from A24, which is like a pretty big, or like they're like a growing studio as well. But so yeah, the Last of Us show was really great in my opinion. For the most part, my parents watched it. They have never seen the game, so they
have no reference.
Yeah, so they have no reference. So for season 1, I would say it was very accurate. I enjoyed it a lot. And my parents, they really loved it. Like after I watched it, like I would be sitting with them too because they wanted to watch it all together.
Yes.
And then season 2 came out. For me, I didn't like it because I played the game though, so I know what it's supposed to look like.
Did they deviate from it?
I think it kind of, yeah, I would say just because like for some of the characters like that they kind of wrote them differently. Like there is a character that is like grumpy.
Yes.
They made her like very jolly, and I think they wanted her to be more likable, because I will say like the actors were getting a lot of hate in general,
like real life hate,
like real life hate. Yeah. So I think they were trying to make the characters, this is my own theory, they're trying to make the characters likable so it could probably help them for not getting as much hate, because they're really young actors too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, like I think for season 1, Bella Ramsey was like, maybe she was like I think a teenager still, and she was getting like a lot of hate for not looking like a video game character, which is like, okay, let's be real now. Like this isn't a real person. But her acting is great. I remember I actually never really watched Game of Thrones, but I've heard a lot of good things about her. So I was surprised to see how much hate, because it's like at the end, or honestly, I think a lot of the debate was, and it's so harsh, but it was like, oh, like she's not that pretty compared to a video game character. By the way, that someone just drew up.
Yeah.
But so, and it's like also she's playing a child, so all these like it's gonna like all these men just want a child to be pretty,
so it's just odd.
Yeah. So but regardless, like I think she performed well for definitely season 1. I think for season 2, all the actors performed as well as they could. I think just the writing for their characters made it. Yeah. But you could tell they like, this is what they're being told. Like it was obvious.
Yes.
But my parents really enjoyed season 2.
You did not?
I did not. I think there's some parts my parents didn't like. They could see like some things were a little bit off. Yeah. Because even compared to season 1, but for the most part, they enjoyed it.
So this is the end of part 1, and we'll continue next week with part 2.